Hi, everyone. My name is Mitch Jackson. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Jennifer Hoverstad. Welcome to TheShow.Live, where we bring you amazing people from around the world who are disrupting industries and creating positive global change. Jennifer, I'm really excited about today's show. This is going to be good.
I am so excited too. Samantha Tucker and the work that she has done as a Paralympic athlete and bringing attention not only to just her sport, but also the many motivational stories that she's able to bring is great. So I cannot wait to glean some of that from her. You know, Mitch, we have an incredible lineup of people coming up over really the next month or so on TheShow.Live. So as we get up and running on Facebook Live, I just want to go over some of those guests that we have coming up. So to kick off the new year, we will have a 2-week break for the holidays. So you guys enjoy Christmas, enjoy New Year's, just enjoy being with family and friends. And we're going to kick off 2017 with the one and only Kim Garst on January 11th. And if you guys didn't see her on TheShow.Live earlier this year, you cannot miss this episode because Kim is fantastic. So that's January 11th. Then, of course, we have Nicholas Murr, who is also known as the social media professor. He actually interned as a professor with Gary Vee. That's January 18th. We have Ann Miller, the internationally respected author and speaker, coming in on January 25th. And then, of course, we have Chris Ducker, also coming in on January 25th, but for a very special 9 p.m. Eastern time, TheShow.Live. So Ryan Morrison, Jason Fried also on the lineup. So of course you can pay attention and keep up with all of those guests on TheShow.Live.
We have such an amazing lineup of exciting guests. And, you know, it's interesting, Chris Ducker is going to be joining us, I think, from the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken, which is what represents the unique time frame of our show. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook. We do have a new domain that's broadcasting live to our TheShow.Live Facebook page. And for all of you just joining us, that is TheShow.Today. So if you go to TheShow.Today and bookmark that site, that will take you to our Show.Live Facebook page. And you can watch the show there, and you can join us there and comment and watch all the exciting and amazing guests that we bring to you each and every week.
That's right. I'm sharing that right now on Facebook. So for those of you joining us, whether you're joining us on Facebook, I see we have a handful of people there, or if you're joining us on Huzza, would love for you to share it out both on Twitter and Facebook, just to make sure we get everyone who would like to hear Samantha's motivational story in the room, asking questions on both platforms.
Absolutely.
So Mitch, I missed you guys last week. How is everything going?
Everything's going fantastic. We missed you too. TheShow.Live is not the same without Jennifer Hoverstad as my co-host, but Malia Probst did a great job of sitting in, and you know, we had an amazing time on the show together. I think she's who you and I want to reach out to when either one of us are unavailable. And so that was always great. And by the way, you've been so darn busy doing all these crazy, amazing things. What the heck's new with you? What have you been doing? Where have you been?
Well, you know what? I have just been doing some really exciting things, much of which to be revealed in 2017. But I can tell you, as you guys can see, I'm broadcasting from a new location, and that is because I am now the brand manager for Counterculture Coffee, which is a national coffee company, but located here in the Triangle. My window actually looks out over the roasting and production area, and so I can just crack this bad boy open in the mornings when they're roasting, and my office smells absolutely amazing. So that is what I've been doing. And my first day happened to also be the day last Wednesday. So I appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of grace there and let me take some things in. But it's great, and I'm excited to be here, and look forward to now broadcasting from my new location.
Congratulations. That's exciting. They are lucky to have you in their lives. That's all I have to say. This is so much fun. You know, I know everyone's wrapping things down, winding things up for the end of the year, and everyone's looking forward to hopefully a nice, relaxing couple of weeks with family and friends. You know, I'm going to miss seeing you. I'm going to miss seeing our audience on the Show.Live, but I want everyone just to chill out, take a deep breath, you know, lots of hugs, lots of kisses, and enjoy your families over the holidays. There's plenty of work for all of us when we get back in 2017, right?
Exactly.
You know, absolutely.
Speaking of hugs and enjoying things, our sponsors today, one of our sponsors is Ross Brand, and talk about just giant group virtual hugs. Ross Brand knows how to do that and bring a group of people together. If you haven't seen it yet, Ross Brand has put out his 88 live stream predictions from 88 different live streaming experts, or maybe professionals, because both Mitch and I are on this list, so I'm not going to categorize myself as an expert, but he has put together an incredible list of people and their predictions. Of course, you can see that on Twitter or on his Facebook page at Livestream Universe. So Ross Brand, thank you for sponsoring the Show.Live today, and thank you for bringing all of us together in the live streaming world, because we just could not do it without you. So Ross, Ross, you're here. Awesome. Ross, if you want to place a link to that article, I'm sorry I didn't have it ready. Go ahead and put that in there, because both Mitch and I appreciate being asked to be part of that.
Yeah, that was fun. And my takeaway is you look at all the different perspectives that everyone has as to what's going to happen in 2017. Many of us have some of the same predictions, but a few of us don't. You know, and it's interesting to look at what's happening, and things are changing so fast in technology and digital that that's an article, Ross, that I've read more than once, and I've actually printed it out and highlighted it, because it's very well done. Very well done, my friend, and we really appreciate the time and attention. Another sponsor that just means the world to Jennifer and I, and many of us in the live streaming community, is rightside.co. Rightside.co creates right side of the dot uniqueness, dot live, dot lawyer, dot attorney, dot ninja, dot expert, whatever it might be. You can find those at rightside.co and build your brand doing something different and exciting on the right side of the dot. So we appreciate everything that Mark Gowith and rightside.co brings to the live streaming community and their support of the Show.Live. For those of you just joining us, we will be bringing Samantha Tucker onto the show in just a couple of minutes. Samantha, you can watch this live at TheShow.Today on our Facebook page, and of course, right here on Huzza, one of the supporters of the Show.Live. I think we should invite Samantha in. What do you think?
I completely agree. And while you invite Samantha in, I'm going to go ahead and give a quick introduction. So for those of you not familiar with Samantha Tucker, she is an incredible motivational speaker and Paralympic archer. But here's the deal. She's only been a competitive archer for less than 2 years, and she is ranked very highly across the globe in her sport. So she competed this year in Rio at the Paralympic Games, as well as a number of other world competitions in order to achieve those rankings. She is an Air Force veteran, and she happened to lose her left arm in a motorcycle accident about 6 years ago. She was the first woman from the United States to compete in the Archery Compound Open. And so she certainly has done quite a bit, not only just for women to promote women and just certainly the power of what she is able to do and what she's been able to overcome, but also her sport in archery. So she is known just to be a speaker and an advocate for so many different groups. And I'm excited to talk to her today to see how she is motivating all those groups she speaks with. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Hi, Samantha. It's good to have you today. Your timing was perfect. Can you hear us? So Samantha, if you're having a hard time seeing us, you might want to click the little camera icon up on the right side of your screen in your URL and make sure you've got the video and audio settings set correctly.
All right, and it looks like it could be also just a lag issue there. So Samantha, if you just want to jump out, we'll invite you back in. Maybe restart the browser there. Let's see, we'll bring her back in.
While you're bringing Samantha back in, we have Nicholas Muir, the social media professor joining us. Can't wait to share Nicholas with the world. Nicholas is going to be a guest on our show, and Mark Gowith, it's good to see you. Thanks for all that you do.
Absolutely.
And did you invite Samantha back in?
I did. So Samantha, if you'll just accept that invite, and we'll get you back in the chair. So, of course, this is the great thing about live streaming, too, is always embracing technical difficulties.
It gives us a chance to chat and say hi to everybody in our audience. And, you know, if you guys, let's see, she declined to broadcast. Let me send her a link. Let me try to send a link real quick.
Okay, great.
And then, Samantha, if you can hear us, if you're using the Chrome browser, sometimes if you want to just refresh, that will bring you back in. But we'll make it work. No big deal.
Absolutely.
For those of you just joining us, we have set up a new link to our Facebook Live broadcast of the show. It's TheShow.Today. And if you bookmark that each and every week, that's where we will be broadcasting the Show.Live and pushing it to Facebook. Right now, Jennifer and I do also have it showing on our home Facebook private pages or public pages or personal pages, I guess is the correct terminology.
All the pages.
All the pages in the world. And but it's good. You know, we're all figuring this stuff out together. You know, it's interesting with Samantha. I was reading about her earlier today, Jennifer. And once again, Samantha, you'll be getting a link. Just click on it and then join us, and we'll bring you back in when you're ready. But it's interesting, you know, as you well know, Jennifer, this is, you know, we handle catastrophic injury and wrongful death cases. I've handled many, many similar cases to what Samantha's been through on her motorcycle. And many of my clients have not bounced back the way she has. And I'm curious to see, you know, what motivated her to get past all of these surgeries, all of these operations, and frankly, to become an Olympic athlete. To me, that's just amazing. I can't wait to hear her story.
Well, and the fact too, I mean, with most Olympic athletes, you hear that they've been competing, you know, since they were 5, and it's been such a long time for them. So the fact that not only has she been able to come back from a near-death injury and losing her arm in this motorcycle accident, but also she becomes an Olympian in the process. And I mean, for those of you that missed the intro, Samantha lost her left arm 6 years ago in a motorcycle accident and essentially lay dying on the side of the road. And when, you know, she was able to recover, and 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, she decided to go into archery, and look where she is now and what she's accomplished. Yes, there she is. We hear you.
Okay, you got me?
We do. We have you, and we can hear you, and we're not going to let you go.
Yes.
Okay. You're ours. Okay. And I don't know if you heard Jennifer's introduction of you, but it was awesome. Okay. I just want you to know that we had your back just like you had our back in Rio.
Yes.
Thank you for representing the United States. Thank you for all that you've done. And thank you for being on today's TheShow.Live. Really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, I have been so excited for this for weeks since you guys reached out to me. I mean, I was like, oh, this is so neat. So thank you so much. I've been looking forward so much to our connection here. It's going to be awesome.
Great. So Samantha, we've given everyone kind of just that nice brief overview of, we have Mark giving us a selfie. So Mark is saying to start the scene. Thank you.
Everybody give us a selfie. Just jump in.
Love to see who's here. So Samantha, kind of do a rewind for us. We know that you're an Air Force veteran, motorcycle accident, 2010. Kind of walk us back to that time and tell us what happened. Where did life kind of pivot for you?
Oh gosh, it was October 8th, 2010. And I was at the time a very seemingly successful Department of the Army employee. They had stood up a new unit. It was kind of a hybrid experimental unit that they had civilians assigned to an active duty Army unit to train and deploy as one, instead of just kind of augmenting in theater. So we were field force engineering, going in to set up communications and structural engineering and all those things in combat or like earthquakes, situations like that. So we were 6 months out from our deployment to Afghanistan, and like I said, I was seemingly very successful, but internally I had gone through most of my life just wishing for the pain to end. I even tried suicide at one point. Became a meth addict, and there's abuse in my childhood and all those things. So I had learned to put on that facade that a lot of people do. And God, I just couldn't wait to go to Afghanistan, thinking that, this will be my ticket out. I can make a bunch of money. I won't need anybody. And I was just slowly isolating myself from the world, and was riding my motorcycle angry. And you should never ride a motorcycle distracted. And I didn't see debris in the road in time. And by the time I did, it was much too late. And my motorcycle hit it, went down. My hip hit the asphalt, spun me around, and my sleeve got caught in the drive belt. and it sucked me into the back of the motorcycle and drove me down the highway. And I didn't lose consciousness. I was very aware of everything that was going on, and the movies absolutely have it right. Everything, the sound stops and everything is in slow motion, and I could just see the sparks going by my face, and I was just kind of like this, watching this happen, going, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. So then I hit the ditch, and once the motorcycle stopped, then the explosion, then there was the sound and the burning and all of that. And I had to get out from underneath the motorcycle. So I was, running down the highway, and one of my coworkers was in front of me and stopped me and laid me down in the ditch. And she was having a PTSD moment. I honor her for that. She's an Army vet.
Wow.
But I'm laying in the ditch, and my arm was ground off, basically. So I'm bleeding out. And it was at that moment that I'm thinking, okay, well, now I'm going to get what I've been wanting. The pain's going to end. And then I hear 3 words, and it's God, and he says, "You are mine." You are mine. And at that point, that little girl that had walled herself off from life, wouldn't allow anybody to love her because she didn't know how to love herself, I just stood up in the rubble and just walked into a new identity. And so then I realized that if I had my relationship wrong with God, that pretty good chance I had my relationship wrong with everything else in my life. All my belief systems probably were wrong. So from that moment forward, I chose to challenge everything that I thought I believed. Where's the proof? Why do I think I'm unlovable? Why do I think I'm not enough? Why do I think I'm not intelligent enough? Why all of these limiting beliefs? Where'd they come from? So started on a journey there. So life has been absolutely fantastic since that day.
Wow.
And this wound is the greatest weapon that I could have ever received, because it's the physical manifestation of my belief systems. I'm sure you've heard that thoughts become things.
Absolutely.
This is the end result of my thought process my whole life. So I started changing everything. And because I built that foundation of I can do anything that I set my mind to, and that I'm the beloved of God. So let's just see how far I can take this. And so January 1st of 2015, 15, I decided to take up archery. And I had never shot before. And, I was blessed to get exposed to archery by a current Paralympic 4-time medalist, or 4-time Paralympian, 3-time medalist. And, I just surrounded myself with people that overcome challenges, and people that taught me that there's nothing in your life that you can't do. You just have to find things, a different way to do it. And I don't care if you're able-bodied at all. There's going to be ways that people do things that aren't going to work. It doesn't mean you're less than, you're not capable, you're not enough. It's just your way. So I put it out there publicly that this is what I'm going to do, and I started changing my mindset, and I became that Paralympic archer and let reality catch me. So, in a nutshell, that's how I got here.
What an amazing story. I mean, that's just so cool. And I don't know if you caught this, Samantha, but while you were clicking back in, I was sharing with Jennifer. I mean, what we do, we're a law firm. We handle catastrophic injury and raw death cases. And I've had a lot of clients that have been through similar injuries to yours, and they did not bounce back the way you did. And I think what really attracted me to getting you on the show, and Jennifer also, was your story and the ability, or let's just say the opportunity that you're using today to influence others. In your tweet earlier today, what blew me away is you pointed out you're excited to be on the show, and you're excited to, I think you used the term influence, okay? In other words, like, you're influencing others. What was it, other than, the experience you just shared, what is it that motivates you to get up each day and take the time and put in the energy to influence other people around the world?
Because I didn't have a positive influence. I didn't have the skill set growing up to frame the events that were happening to me in a positive way. So in sharing my story and letting people know that they're not alone, from young to old, you're not alone, and then sharing some of the ways I went about to change my mindset, which changed my reality, I know that every time I interact with somebody's going to be at that point in their life where they can hear what I'm saying. But if I don't tell my story, if I don't tell my message, and I don't try to teach these skill sets, then I've done them harm. There's a huge responsibility that I feel, because I lived through that experience, not to waste it. You know, it's a tragedy that should never go wasted. A wound should never not be turned into a weapon. A weakness is just an unstrengthened weapon, you know? So it's my obligation, it's my joy. Because when I can see that light flicker on in a little kid's eyes or in somebody's eyes, and they realize, oh, you know what? I've been thinking this way my whole life, but why? I mean, I have the power to change it. So that's what encourages me. That's what keeps me going. It's what feeds me.
Wow, that's incredible. And I think, you know, too, Samantha, one thing I just love so much about your story is just really what a short time ago that actually was. I mean, you know, 6 years ago, while many of us were doing different things 6 years ago and maybe in different places in life, I mean, your story is such a testament to the fact that, you know, change can come, maybe in ways, like you said, you didn't expect it, but certainly it can come, and your life can look vastly different in a very short period of time, certainly for the better. So I'm curious, you know, part of what you do, I do want to talk about your road to the Olympics, but I know part of what you do now, kind of day to day, is motivational speaking as well as your archery. So tell us a little bit about that. How have you been able, I know recently you were out in the Dakotas, I believe, speaking with groups and bringing your message there. What kind of motivational stories or speaking engagements are you doing right now?
Yeah, so a lot with businesses. Absolutely loved doing it. It was the Lakota Nations Education Conference, bringing together all of the educators to talk about, specifically on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. They're having a rash of preteen suicides, and the drug problem is just horrific, and the sexual abuse is horrific. So I got to meet with a great group of kids who had all been victims of sexual abuse, emotional abuse, violence. All of them were suicide survivors. So in sharing my story, it lets them know that they're not alone, and then teaching some of the skill sets, because you can only use the tools that you know that you have in your toolbox. You can only use the tools that you know how to run. So changing your mindset, changing your self-image. And that's true whether I'm talking to a group of women entrepreneurs or kids or business leaders or organizations that are just looking to change their mindset in dealing with, you know, business strategic problems. Because the energy that we bring into something, that the thought patterns that we bring in subconsciously are going to influence how we approach issues and how we process information. So it's been fantastic to just be able to take this little accident that I've had and reach out and touch so many diverse areas of life.
Absolutely.
Well, and for example, so at the beginning of 2015, having never participated as an archer before, you decided, I'm going to be in the 2016 Olympics. I'm not sure how that process worked, but what the heck, a year and a half from now, I'm going to be in the Olympics. Now you're competing against people that have picked up a bow and arrow and were shooting their entire lives. Can you share with us, when you rolled into Rio, first of all, maybe your favorite experience with being down there, but also how did you deal with the challenge of knowing that you'd only been shooting a bow and arrow for less than 2 years and you were competing against some of the best in the world?
Yeah, that goes back to when I set out on this path. So in January, I wrote out, all right, what's my limiting belief? So what are the limiting thoughts that I have? All right, so I don't know how to shoot. If I ask anybody in the sport, what's the road to Rio, the road to the Paralympics? Well, first you learn to shoot, then you shoot in some local tournaments, some regional tournaments, some national tournaments, and you do this long process. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that long process. I want to really shrink it down. So I started writing affirmations because I needed to change my subconscious belief about who I was and let my skills catch up. So I started writing an affirmation, and I wrote it out in hand on 5x7 cards and put it 5 different places that I would see all the time. So my bathroom mirror, the refrigerator, the dashboard on my car, my bow case, so places that I would see. And every time I saw it with emphasis and emotion would say, and first I had to make the national team. So it was, I am a member of the 2015 U.S. National Para Archery Team. It is like me to shoot X's and O's. It is like me to shoot 620 and above. I perform best under pressure, in competition, and in front of people I want to impress. And so I was saying that over and over and over. And then I went a little bit maybe overboard, but I recorded it, put it on my laptop, looped it, and listening to them. And when I was so subconsciously, when I went to my first competition and there's hundreds of the world's best on the line, I needed to believe that I belonged there, no matter what my score was. And trust me, my score was not that good. It was awful. I missed the target a couple times, had to do the walk of shame, you know, and they're not quiet about that. When you walk past that target to go look for your arrows, you get a little rash of crap.
That's what you call the walk of shame. Okay.
You got, you know, hundreds of archers on the line and the buzzer rings, and you go pull your arrows out of the target, but if you miss, you got to walk behind the target. And so nobody can shoot until you're done finding your arrow. So yeah, it's a very public thing, and you know, but I was like, yeah, I belong here. I belong here. Doesn't matter what the score says, I belong here. So, and one of the things that you do, and
I think we just I just
pause.
lost Samantha.
Pause there in the tech. Samantha, maybe let's give you a second here to. Not sure if it's going to reboot. Sometimes it reboots. Recently decided to go of counsel with a local law firm. So there she is.
Oh, so my laptop decides to do updates. Just shuts down.
Oh no!
You know, Samantha, we have a walk of shame on TheShow.Live.
I'm okay with it. So I'm at my chiropractor's office now. I just ran for her. So.
That is brilliant. Look at that. I love it. That is so
it's not an issue at all. We're just glad that you're you know what? You're pretty persistent. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that before, but it's showing you're really making a good faith an Olympic effort right now. Samantha, favorite experience in Rio.
Oh, favorite experience. Okay, so my favorite experience was when I was going up for my first elimination round, and we'd had some problems with my shoulder release socket, so it just wouldn't connect with the D loop. So during team rounds, we practiced that if it disconnects, I just reach down and my teammate will reset it for me and keep going. So on my fourth arrow, and you get 15 in the elimination rounds, and you have 20 seconds to shoot. So I go to hook on and it won't hook, and it won't hook, and it won't hook. So I have to set the bow down, lean it against my arm, reach up, fix it, go back, and just as I'm going to draw, buzzer rings. I'm out of time. So that arrow doesn't score. My favorite part was the next arrow, which hit a 10.
Wow.
Because, you know, and so just staying in the game, and, you know, you just can't let one arrow destroy everything. So I shot really, really well after that. Still lost. I think I lost by 3 points or something like that. But it was the okay, so my mental game is strong.
Yes.
You know. And so that was my favorite point, because I could have, at that point I knew I was, you know, at this level, you're probably done, you know, but I was like, doesn't matter. That arrow shot. The only one that matters is the next arrow. And that's the lesson in life, because you're going to fail. And if you fail and let it get you down, you'll never succeed, because success is built on failures.
Never stop shooting your arrows.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
That's a great example, because I think, you know, so often that you're right. It's so much of everything we do is such a mental game, you know, whether it's shooting archery or attempting to finish some kind of document that you've been putting off and it's sitting at the edge of your desk for a long time. You know, there's a lot there, just overcoming a mental barrier and a mental obstacle. As far as archery goes, I mean, so now you've been to the Olympics, you accomplished that goal. What is next in archery for you?
Well, it's fixing the problem that went wrong when I was shooting. So there were several of us that have the shoulder release system. I used to shoot with my mouth. But you lose teeth doing that, and I was really not up to that. So I probably will go back to mouth tab shooting this year quite a bit, just because there were 3 of us that shot with a shoulder release system, and we all had failures.
Wow.
It's a, you know, because nothing is off the shelf for this ever. So it has to be custom made, and so there's, you know, the power release and the pivot points and all sorts of technical stuff. So we'll be going through a redesign on that. So, and it's just, you know, to keep having fun and to go win a medal in 2020. So that's my goal. So
there you go.
No pressure at all this year. All I got to do is shoot some arrows and, you know, fix my socket and the shooting release system and all of that. So yeah, this year's going to be a good kind of coasting year. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Samantha, I grew up on a ranch in Tucson, and I was sharing a story while you were gone about my dad bow hunting and both wildlife and doves. If you can believe that, they take the tip of the arrow off, and they'd make a clover leaf piano wire and put that on top, and they'd hit the low flying doves, which I'm not promoting hunting or anything like that. I'm just telling you the way I grew up, that's what he did. But I had a chance also to shoot bow and arrow into our big haystack, and we'd set up targets and practice. And it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. And that's why it blows me away that within 2 years, you went from never having shot a bow and arrow, at least competitively, to being in the Olympics. That's just blows me away. Now, having said that, what other challenges have you had in life that either equal or exceed the challenges you may have experienced with becoming an Olympic caliber archer?
The biggest challenge that I've had before my accident and then after my accident is maintaining the proper emphasis on the power of your thoughts.
Okay.
And that's one of the beautiful things about archery, because when you're going through your process of releasing that arrow, you have to say the same thing mentally to yourself every time. And it's a very kind of meditative, it's like therapy with a weapon. It's awesome. But whatever is going on in the back of your mind, whatever the words are, whatever the message is, and we say approximately 50,000 messages to ourselves every day.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of talking, huh?
That is a lot of talking.
I thought I heard that.
I know, right? So, depending on what your mindset is, the majority of those can be negative. So it's just, as I'm shooting, one thought can completely throw off the process, and that's going to be reflected on the outcome, the score. So it's staying in the process and really paying attention to how I'm speaking to myself, because I'm listening, and it affects my behavior, it affects my attitude, it affects my energy, it affects everything in my life. And that's the case with all of us. You can't have negative thoughts and have a positive life. You can't be distracted and have real, laser focus to accomplish your goal. It just doesn't work that way. So that's the biggest challenge.
Can you share with us what you actually tell yourself during each shooting motion? Yeah.
So, there's everything in archery is a very specific, technical, precise movements. I mean, just this much movement can, mean that much miss on a target. Mm-hmm. So I always check my placement of my feet, make sure they're the same, that my body weight is the same, kind of a 60-40, and that so I go kind of a scan up from the floor, my feet, knees, hips, is my torso tight, is my, all of this core tight, the position of my hand on the riser is the same, making sure that it's, the D-loop, and then it's just the stretch, sink, relax, so I have everything solid and in the same alignment. And then, make sure that on the exhale of my breath. And then at that point, when everything from the arrow back is solid, then you start aiming. So, then I'm not even thinking about like looking through, is everything lined up? Because you're always going to have this kind of motion, always. So I'm laser focused on where I want that arrow to hit. Now, if there's wind and I want it to hit in the X, I may have to aim at like 2 o'clock, if you have a clock. At 2 o'clock at the 6 ring. So that's going to laser focus, because that's where I want the arrow to fly, so that the wind pushes it into the X spot. So, just very, very precise. But if I'm thinking about, is somebody coughing? I wonder if they're watching. Did I let the coffee pot off? Oh, I don't look good in these pants. Just anything is going to completely throw that off,
Samantha, I never considered it before. I do quite a bit of yoga, and it was brought to my attention early on that archers use yoga quite a bit for most of the reasons that you're describing right there, because your focus and your kind of like being in tune with literally every part of your body is just so important. So I'm glad you kind of described that, because it is crucial in order for you to do your job, I assume. Is there anything maybe like yoga or certain exercises that you do as part of your routine to make sure that alignment works for you every time?
Yes. So meditation is part of my daily just habit, but visualization, Because the interesting thing is that your mind does not know the difference between an imagined experience and a real one. So in between my shots, I will visualize the next shot, and it's perfect. I'm aiming where I want to aim, and it falls into the 10 ring. It's a perfect shot. So as I go to physically knock the arrow and go through the process of the shot, I've already got that in my mind, and my body doesn't know the difference. So I'm visualizing the shot before I shoot it. And then meditation is phenomenal. And I never understood meditation before. I always thought, you're supposed to quiet your mind and not think of anything. Well, right, 50,000 messages I'm sending myself every day. I'm not going to think about anything.
Right.
So then I had somebody explain it to me this way. Meditation is exercise for the mind, and that it's like going to the gym. So if I'm trying to calm my mind and focus on my breathing, and I have a distracting thought come in, just acknowledge the thought. I'll deal with you later. Acknowledge it, though, so it needs to be heard. All right, yes, I'll check the coffee pot. Deal with that later. Set it aside. That's like a mental push-up. So I just exercise my mind's ability to acknowledge and set aside, acknowledge and set aside, acknowledge and set aside. So if I'm meditating for 10 minutes and I get maybe 50 interruptions, that's 50 push-ups. That's a successful meditation. So I'm practiced it. Acknowledge, set aside, acknowledge, set aside. So when I'm on the line, something comes in, set it aside. I don't go down that rabbit hole anymore. And that's just so important in just staying present in the moment, no matter if you're talking to a friend or, just interacting with anybody or just trying to focus on a task. We can get hijacked by our mind quite easily.
It's interesting to hear an athlete say that, because that's what you are. And I've been around athletes my whole life, and the good athletes are the ones that can get rid of all the noise, line up, do whatever they're doing, and just focus on the task at hand and do so in a consistent fashion. And that's such an important message for our audience to listen to. Samantha, my daughter, who's 22, just joined us over on Facebook Live. And after we have Nick jump on, I'm going to ask you a question. So remind me if I forget, that can help my daughter with some of the exciting things that are going on in her life. But when it comes to consistency, when it comes to meditation, I just got to tell you, every time I meditate, I'm thinking about this guy down here, Nick Rishwain. Nick Rishwain, VP of experts.com. Put those Snapchat spectacles back on. Show us what you got there. Come on. Put them on. Put those on.
I can only put them sort of like this, but because they're not prescription yet. So
those are awesome. They look great on you. And I would love to look at Samantha shooting an arrow through Snapchat.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
A great first person view. I'm just saying, when you're ready to do it, you reach out to us and we'll do it on TheShow.Live. Nick, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jen, Mitch. Good to see you. Samantha, nice to meet you. I do want to give AJ a chance to get in on the show before the holidays. Hi, AJ. Good to see you as well. So I'm going to make it real quick, Samantha. I missed the part. How long have you been doing archery in total now?
In total, I started training January of last year. So it was 19 months from that time to the Paralympics.
Going to that is crazy. That is incredible. I mean, I was hearing this stuff and I was like, am I hearing this right? I got to come and ask it, because that's pretty impressive. More than impressive. It's very impressive.
Well, I surround myself with amazing people. If you want to shoot with the best, you got to shoot with the best. So, yeah.
That is phenomenal. That is all I really had today, guys. I do want to let Mitch's daughter jump in, and it was good to see y'all before the holidays.
Thanks, Nick.
Happy Christmas and happy
Nice
holidays,
to meet
Nick.
you. Bye-bye.
Well, I think that was certainly worth repeating, because if someone was just listening to our conversation casually, they may have had the same question that Nick did. And Mitch, of course, I'll let you bring AJ in. I want to go ahead and ask Ross Brandon's question here. He says, what kind of practice schedule, Samantha, did you have in choosing the goal to be on the U.S. team to qualifying for the Olympics? We've talked a bit more about your stance and kind of those affirmations, but what about the physical practices? What did that look like?
Oh my gosh, it was brutal. So this lady that I met at a sports clinic and we decided to do this together, and she was the first W1 female para archer to make it to the Paralympics. So how we decided to do this is we would drop everything, walk away from everything, move to Colorado Springs, live together, and train together. We arrived in Colorado Springs December 31st of 2014. So January 1st of 2015, we were on the line at this archery range that didn't have any heat, free ice, and so we would literally get up in the morning, practice all day, go home, eat, sleep, get up in the morning, practice all day. Because this was in January, and we had June to make the national team. So it was a really compressed time frame, and we both did it by June, and then by July we both were selected for the world team. So we got to compete in the world championships in that September, so 9 months after starting, and then you know, through the trials process for the Paralympics. So it was really, really brutal initially, and I've had some amazing support from my family and friends, because I was away from home 120 days last year.
Wow.
Really hard I didn't have any social life. I mean, I literally, even friends that knew me, I didn't speak to them for 19 months. I just didn't go anywhere, do anything except for archery. So it took 100% focus because of the compressed time frame. And I love doing things. It was such a wonderful experience to just prove the power of thought and focus, you know. And I love when people say you can't do something. I'm like, yes, now it's a new challenge. Yes, I can, you know.
There you go. That's all you need for your motivation, right?
Yeah, you know, and it's just wonderful because there's so many people out there that feel that their disability, which is really in their head. The only thing I can't do is laundry and dishes. Everything else I've figured out.
That sounds pretty convenient.
It sounds like we have the same disability.
It works for me. So, you know, you can figure out a way to do anything you want. You just do it differently. So it's been wonderful. The Paralympics was simply a platform for me to reach more people. It was a great goal, and I loved it. But to me, it's a platform to reach people who have limiting mindsets, whether they're physically challenged, but all of us, I think, are emotionally challenged, just because of, you know, of social programming that we get when we're so young. You know, approximately 80% of our belief systems are formed by the time we're age 10. We don't even have a conscious mind to filter through reason, you know, and logic, all of these experiences that will be thrown our way. So if we have healthy, you know, well-grounded, healthy mindset people feeding us healthy, positive experiences and messages, that's great. But if we don't, we can take that crap way into our adult life and mess a lot of things up, which was in my case.
Yes, that is the truth.
Amen. So Samantha, our mutual friend, Jenny Q, I think you're on the Jenny Q show, is in the audience, and she asked the question, and I'm going to follow it up. Her question is, was it all worth it? Number one. And then she also mentions that, you know, if we haven't seen you on stage doing your thing, we're missing out. Apparently you totally enjoy being on stage, sharing your message of influence and staying positive and everything else that we've already talked about. Tell us a little bit more about how you've taken your Paralympic athletic background and experience onto the big stage. When you share your message, are there similarities? Do you get nervous? Is it something that you look forward to? What's more stressful, shooting an arrow or being on stage in front of a large audience? But also, was it all worth it?
Yeah, it was 100% worth it. Absolutely 100% worth it, because of the results. You know, the outcome is absolutely worth it. And it's much more nerve-wracking to fire that first arrow, maybe the first 3 arrows, than it is to be up on stage. But I get to translate what I learned in archery to the stage, in that, you know, my coach told me, he said, those butterflies that you feel, you know, and if your hand's shaking, that's gonna show on the, you know, on the target. He said, those butterflies in there, that is just them saying you're ready. Your job is to make them fly in formation. You're not going to get rid of them. Just make them fly in formation. You know, so really just changing my mindset on the jitters before shooting, just going, okay, this is my body saying I'm ready. We've prepared for this. You're mentally ready, you know, and it's go time. But yeah, I absolutely do love being up on the stage and sharing my story, because I like watching how the audience changes. I like watching that connection. I like seeing in their eyes, oh, I'm not alone, or oh, I could use that, or hey, I can use that today and make a difference. You know, there's been so many connections after I'm done speaking, and that's what makes it all worthwhile. So when I'm up there on the stage, I know that I'm connecting with somebody, and I know that there's a couple people, at least in the audience, that are at that one specific point in their life where they can hear part of my message. So absolutely love it. And Jenny Q's a blast. We have a lot.
Jenny Q is great. Certainly a well-known friend of the Show.Live, and Mitch and I love supporting what she does too with her show, the Jenny Q Show. So Samantha, tell us, one of the things that we were talking about in the midst of the technology issue there was discussing 2017 goals. And of course, all of us are now well aware of the goals that you're able to set for yourself and the things you're able to accomplish. What are you looking ahead and doing in 2017? What kind of affirmations have you already set for yourself?
Yeah, so in 2017, I'm an in-demand, highly paid public speaker. I use my life story to compassionately share tools and techniques to help people embrace and empower themselves to step into a life of purpose, meaning, and joy.
Oh my
So that's
gosh.
one of my affirmations.
I love it. That's
Yeah, so
amazing.
we already got that now. Yeah, so that's one of my affirmations, and it's happening, you know. And the thing is that it's like if you buy a red Toyota 4-door sedan, or you want to buy one, you get on the road and that's all you see. They're everywhere because your mind's attuned to it, right? So if you get your mind attuned to the affirmation of this is what your outcome, your desired outcome in, your mind gets attuned to opportunities. It's a concept. So I would encourage you guys to write affirmations constantly. And as you get closer, it's just what I did in archery. As my scores started going up, I would start changing my affirmation. You know, instead of I'm a U.S. para archery team member, I'm a U.S. Paralympic team member. You know? So I always have affirmations going, and I'm always morphing them, you know, to meet the next progressive step in my goals. So I would encourage you guys to do that too.
And what is your next step in 2017 and beyond? What else? What's your next big goal, and how are you going to achieve?
Oh, my next big goal is to, you know, I just want to reach thousands and thousands of people with my transformational mindset message. You know, so my goal is to start speaking, you know, 2 or 3 times a month to larger and larger audiences across a lot of demographics. I can talk to kids or I can talk to business leaders. So get out there and just spread that message that you're created for a life of purpose, meaning, and joy, and that there's some skill sets, and they're a little difficult, but they're not impossible. So how bad do you want it? So let's figure out what your why is, and let's build some tools to get you there. So 2017 for me is about getting on the stage, connecting with people, sharing my message of hope, and the tools that I've used. And then also for archery, I've got to get that socket fixed. I mean, that thing failing, that was a no-go. So, you know, kind of thinking outside of the box on ways that you know, I can do the energy transfer and all of the stuff that needs to happen. And you know, already people are just kind of ending up in my circle. Oh, I have a 3D printer. Oh, I know a guy that has CAD. And so I think it's going to be a year of experimenting and just staying proficient and having fun with that. Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. And how can people keep up with you going into the new year? What's the best way for them to either contact you or maybe to see what you'll be doing?
So right now, Facebook, my website is going under a revision, so that's not done yet, but that's SammiTucker.com. So Facebook, just Sammi Tucker, SAMMITUCKER.
And we'll make sure that is properly shared on our social media platforms, Sammi. Definitely. We want to help any way we can. 2020 Olympics, 2020 Paralympics. Will you be there? What are your plans?
Oh, to be there and to bring home a medal. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Will you make us a promise if you medal in the Olympics in 2020? Will you come back to the Show.Live?
Absolutely. It's not
and put your medal
it's
on?
a win.
There you go.
Okay. I think that sounds like a deal. Thank you so much for being with us today. This was awesome. And we can't tell you how much we have your back. We love what you're doing. Your message is so inspirational. I'm glad my daughter got to listen to you, Sammi, tell your story. AJ, pay attention to this woman. She's doing things the right way. And
Now, does she have a question?
You know, I don't think she's going to pop on because she's not on Huzzer. She's on Facebook. But she's just, you know, what I was going to ask you is she's 22. She just finished her first semester of law school. And it was very stressful, but she did very well. A lot of competition, right? And just some thoughts or maybe some advice for AJ with respect to dealing with stress in very stressful situations. What are your thoughts?
You know, for me, dealing with stress is even just sitting down before the day or before the event or even in a reflection to a special event. What is my desired outcome for this situation? What is my desired outcome? Write that out. There's something about writing things out in hand. And then what's my why? because the why will get you through all of the crap. Absolutely, and will keep you focused. So instead of getting mired down in the little details and all the splatter of reality that can get us distracted and down, stay focused on the outcome. Always hold true to the why. And if you have to write those every morning, you know, that's another thing. So getting up in the morning and just writing out a couple minutes of what you're grateful for, write out what your outcome is, write out what your why is. The more focused you stay and the harder your resolve is, the less people are going to get in and screw with it. You know, it's kind of like your shield, you know?
Absolutely. That's great. And I'm going to pass that along to her. Samantha, thank you so much for being on today's show. Really appreciate it. Everyone, thanks for joining us today. Make sure to connect with Samantha through her Facebook page. We will share all the links at TheShow.Today. That's our Facebook page for TheShow.Live. Everyone, thanks for joining us today. Jennifer, always good to see you. Samantha, thank you, and we'll see you again in 2020, okay?
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.